Hello there, Jill Tisbury here at FiredGlass, and today we are doing a simple cottage garden. Ready to go? Let's crack on. Okay, so what have I got? Got my mould. It's always good to start with the mould because that will tell you what size glass you need to cut. So this is a nice deep curve on the mould that we've got. I'm going to obviously coat that with boron nitride to stop my glass sticking because that's a bit far seen into on the edges, as my mum would say. So we're going to do that in another video. So if you want to learn about how to prep metal moulds, there's another video that talks all about that. All right, so there's my mould, good to go. I've already cut some glass. So my glass is, let's see, 15 centimetres, well, it's pretty much 15 centimetres square. So you can put 18 centimetre width on that mould that we're using, but this one's fine, this will work. So I'm going to draw a very, very quick design just to give you some idea of where we're going. Let me see where my pen's disappeared to. There we go, let's get a pen. So just to kind of make it fairly simple, we're going to have a nice horizon line like that, and we're probably going to go with some delphiniums. I like delphiniums, they're a nice bright flower, and probably some rudbeckias. You'll know them when you see them. They're the ones with the sort of cone head and the petals that drop down. So I think, let's see, we'll have some delphiniums here. So you don't have to be a mega artist to do this, and I think our rudbeckias will come over here like this, and then that means that we've got a nice view through the middle. So we put some dense foliage in, some murrine flowers, we've got a view through the middle into the middle distance at the back. Cool, so we know what we're doing. Let's get going with some powders. Right, my workspace is set up here so that I've got an A3 sheet of paper and two 1-inch kiln props. They don't have to be the round jobs, they can be kiln dams, something that allows you to rest your piece of glass on top of that so that any overspill you can catch and you put back in your bottle. So the powders that I'm using and the glass and all of the accessory Frit that I'm using today is Bullseye glass, and it's COE 90. So when you see the list at the end, obviously you can just transplant your own. If you use a different system, you can use your own colours. But if you're following what we're doing, then this is all Bullseye glass, and the firing schedules are all for COE 90, and they'll be shown later on. So this is the glass that I'm using for the sky. I used to put these on top, but this was just a full fused tiny sample piece of glass to see the colour, but they don't work so well on a black background. So what I do instead is I create myself these little sample pieces, so when we get students in the workshops they can see exactly what that colour is going to look like when it's fired. So really useful, and we've got those in the whole set of colours that we have. Just pop that over there. Okay, so we're going to go with the sky blue in a second. Let's see what tools we've got here. So we need a sifter because we're going to sift powder into the background. These are commercially available, you've probably seen them. I'll just move that out of the way so you can see this better. This is a large sieve, you can get a small sieve. I tend to like this one because it's enclosed. This is a tea strainer, so you can get this at most supermarkets. The rest of them are commercially available at most glass suppliers, but this is just probably a couple of quid most supermarkets, and it allows you to pick up the glass and easily glass powder and easily sift it onto here. So we need a mask because obviously if you're going to work with any glass powders, ideally you need an N95 mask, which is quite a thick mask, and obviously stops you breathing in any of that nasty stuff. I'm going to wear this one for now, just so you can hear me, because that makes my voice quite muffled, but I am going to put my mask on and then we're good to go with powders. You're probably all used to these by now, sadly. Hopefully it won't be long before we're getting back to some normality. Okay, so there we go, put it under my glasses, otherwise it steams up. We all know what that's like if you're a glasses wearer with masks. Right, so in the description below we will list all of the powders, all of the accessory glass, so the Frits and the stringers and the murrine, in the order that we use them. So the first one we're going to use is this. This is light sky blue, absolutely beautiful transparent colour. And I'm going to use a mixture here. I'm using transparent. There we go, just fill this halfway. If you fill it too much, it's going to fall out the edges and you don't really want that. So I'm going to use transparent for the sky, and I'm going to use opal for the ground, for the grass background. So I'm going to go down to the edge. Don't worry about the fact that you've got Sharpie on here. It'll all burn off and it won't cause any problems with your colour whatsoever. You can always draw this on your paper if you don't want to draw it on the glass, and then you've always got it to refer back to. So what I'm doing here is trying to make sure that I'm going to give a nice even coverage. That's the key to this. And I'm just tapping and moving along. There's no rush, just moving along evenly over the top of this. And because this is transparent, you want a reasonable amount to actually get the full colour. I guess you'd need usually about another 3 ml on top of that, but I just make sure I've got a nice even coverage so that we get a colour on there. Don't worry about the fact that you've gone over the horizon line, because we're going to go over with Pea Pod. That's it. Get rid of that in there. It's always good to have another couple of these. I'm going to put this on one side. Just get rid of that. And you can see why we've got the paper now. So there's quite a lot, and it's all money, so you don't want to waste it. One of the tips I will give you while we're here is that inevitably when we get students on workshops, they forget to tidy up the spillage. So I have a mixture here. So I keep this separate from my little Frit bits, and this is my meadow mix. So this is a whole mixture of different colours, and if you sprinkle that on the bottom when you put the background on, you've got meadow flowers. And it's the same here with this, so you could actually use this to create a sort of wildflower mix on the bottom of your piece. Okay, so let's get this back, and we're ready to go with the Pea Pod. So this is an opal. You can always tell the difference because all the opals begin with a 0 and all the transparents begin with a 1. So if you're never sure which ones are which and you haven't got a sample piece, if you try and remember that, you'll know that you've got opal as opposed to transparent. So gentle as you're going on the horizon line, because you don't really want to have mega overlap, and I want quite a sort of decent horizon line. I don't want a graduated sort of mix from one to the other. There we go. Once you've done that, same as before, nice even coverage on here, just running out. I think I need some more Pea Pod. And cover that on there. And because this is opal, it's a denser colour, it's a brighter colour as well, so it should give us, once we start to put our flowers and our background elements in, a little sense of perspective, a little depth into the piece. Okay, I think that's enough. So I'm just going to recover the stuff that's spilled off of that. That's it. So at this point it's useful to remember that you've got powders on here and that it won't take much for you to put little digs in that, so be fairly careful because obviously it's powder, it's going to move. So I think what I want is a little hedgerow just to give a bit more interest in this. So I'm going to use this. This is Aventurine Green, well, it's Light Aventurine Green Confetti glass. So I'm just going to take my mask off. Just pop that back up there for now. There we go. It's like you've been in a sauna when you take one of these off. These are useful for cutting this. You can either press this, some bits are thicker than others, so you can press it with your fingers. Let's just move that there for a minute so you can see it. Or you can do this. So I'm just using the edge of these. It allows you to get a bit more control. There we go. And I want some small bits, that's why I'm doing this. Just pop those back. So these are, it's a bit blingy because it's Aventurine Green, so it's got a little bit of a sparkle on it. And you can use this to create little clumps, little trees. So right in the distance on that hedgerow line, where you've got the horizon line. These are dodgy to pick up, aren't they? There we go. Little clumps. You don't necessarily need a whole line of it, but you just want to create what looks like a hedgerow in the distance. There we go. Some bigger ones for some big old bushes there. And you want little clumps, you don't want them sort of sitting on their own. Billy No Mate's tree in the background. There we go. This is just about it. There's been shorter ones and some long ones. And the other thing about this is that if you've really got, I mean, you can actually get Aventurine Green powder, but if you've really got some tiny bits of dust, you could just sprinkle it on as well. Oop. Perhaps not like that, Gillian. Let's move that. If you do get little digs in it, just gently tap on there and you're fine. Ooh. It sticks in your finger easily as well, this stuff. Okay, right. So we're good to go. We've got our background. So the next thing that we want to put on here is some stringers to create the stem structure for our garden. Stringers. Okay, so this is quite a tangle of stringers, so if you have a box like this, be careful. Otherwise you'll go through the band-aids at a rate of knots. So I'm going to grab some of this. This is stuff that we pull ourselves in our vitrograph kiln here. And like all of the murrine and these things, it's available on our website, so we'll give you the link later on. I'm going to get myself some nice, oh look, some nice curvy bits. We call it organically pulled. What we mean is it's got some lovely organic shapes in it, so I'm going to just grab some of these curvy stems because we want to make things that look like you know, the long stems of delphiniums, so I'm going to put those on there. and I find it's easier to use the little nippers on the end of here, the little tweezers. So maybe not too long, but this is a bit like the old Bob Ross painting videos at this stage. You know, if you've ever watched Bob Ross, a really good artist, but he always has the courage to do a big old tree right in the foreground, and that's what you need here, a big old stem to create your delphiniums. So I think we said from this side, there we go, so I wasn't too worried about where I'd sort of dug into the powder there, because this is actually going to get covered with delphinium blossoms anyway. And you can see I'm putting quite a tangle on here. And then these over here are going to be the stems for the rudbeckia flowers. So we're going to, as I say, tangle them up a bit so that they're over each other. You don't see them lined up like soldiers in the garden, so make sure that you've got quite a tangle going on there. And obviously not all the same way either, so twist them round a bit and different heights so that you get some interest, but I'm leaving this space fairly clear. Maybe I've got a big old stem there, and we will pop a few more on until we are happy. Just digging around in my box here to get some smaller ones. So let's just pop this all on here. And also we got different colours in these, so we've actually got green ones and we've got some variegated ones where we added a little bit of red into the mix to get that sort of dogwood sort of look. There's some quite nice colours coming out of here. Marvellous. Okay, so I think I'm happy with that. I'm going to put this away. These are great, these craft wardrobes. You've got little nooks and crannies for all sorts of things up here. So I'm going to go over here. This, when we pull the stringers, we get a byproduct, which is where the air starts coming into the cane as we pull it. And you can probably see, let me find one that's got a hole in it so you can see that. There we go. So you can probably see the big hole right down the middle here, and it creates what we call vitrigraph confetti. So it's like confetti glass, but it's hollow canes that we then crush up. And I love using these because it looks like a whole mess of undergrowth in different colours. So I'm just going to add all this onto here. Give myself some sort of undergrowth, weeds, all sorts of mess where the hedgehogs can hide. And you could actually just scoop this up and drop some bits on to create this little tangle of undergrowth here. It's very effective though, because you've got different colours. Let me just pop that here for a minute. Because you've got the different colours, you get some nice shadow effects on here. There we are. Some big bits there. So it's really effective, quite like that. If you get a little bit, just be gentle and you can drop that where you want it. Perfect. Okay, so I'm happy with my stringers, and I'm happy with the, oops, just pop that on there. I'm happy with the undergrowth that's on there. So next thing to do is perhaps put some delphiniums on. Okay, got rid of that. delphiniums then. So if you recall, if you've ever seen delphiniums, then you might know that they are sort of like petrol slick type colours. So I've got a whole mixture of colours here, and I've got a very big bottle of turquoise here as well. So we're going to start with the turquoise, and we're going to use these stems to do the delphiniums. So when you are putting this stuff on, don't get too much, because if you get too much and you start tapping, it can come off the edges and it goes where you don't want it to go. So less is more. So you need a little bit of this, and keep it controlled. Hold on to your frit shovel and then twist as it goes up, and even go beyond where the stem finishes maybe. You could twist this round. If you twist it round, you're better off getting 4 of these, just to make sure you're not going to drop it. You don't want to have your hard work all over the desk once you've put your background on. So there we go, just a gentle twist of that going up into the breeze maybe. And then this one, just think about where that curve is going to fall. That's going to probably go over here somewhere. Twist it back round a little bit, and I think we've got one more coming out here. So we'll have this chap as a delphinium. There we go. So he's falling over a little bit in the breeze. Oh, one more there. There we go. Fab. So that's turquoise. It's a transparent, so it sparkles quite nicely. It's a beautiful colour. I'll just pop this back down here. So that's great, but I did say it was a petrol slick type colour. So not that one, this one. This is aquamarine blue. This is another beautiful colour. And these are all fine frits that I'm using. Tiny little amounts of these, but the aquamarine allows you to add a bit of shading really. So you want depth to these flowers. So again, you don't want massive amounts, but you do want some dark petals. So let's pop this, not too much, but a little bit on there. There we go. And then to really sort of jazz it up a little bit, I'm going to use some opal. So I'm going to use some opal cobalt blue, which is a nice dense colour. So that's this one, deep cobalt actually. This is a lovely colour. Don't know why I went all French there, but I did. Oh, there we go. A bit more there than I wanted, but never mind. Doesn't matter if some of these little bits fly off. It's obviously petals floating about in the wind. You can make up all sorts of stories for your gardens. They're your creations, so it's up to you. There we go. And then the last thing that I'm going to put onto here is a little bit of pink. So let's pop that over there. So I've got fuchsia and I've got light pink striker. Not that they look like them, you can see why it's important to have your colour swatches. So this is light pink striker. And again, when you get the chance, if you get the chance to have a look at some delphiniums, you'll notice there's all sorts of purples, pinks and blue colours in their petals. So this gives you a lovely dense sort of petal look to them. Little bit of light pink striker, just where the light perhaps catches it. There we go. And that's it. So those are my delphiniums, all shooting out over there. Marvellous, happy with those. And the next thing I'm going to do is put Rudbeckia on this side. So this is a bottle of all my spare scrap glass. People are always asking what to do with scrap glass from the yellows. So there's all sorts of yellows on here. I'm just going to get a few out so you can have a look. You can make these big, you can make them small. A lot of people use the blues and the greens for making wreaths with. I find these are ideal for making rudbeckia with. So there are some oranges, there are some, I think this is marzipan, which is quite a nice one, so we'll use some of the marzipan and we'll pop them on there. And as soon as I put them on, I'm sure you'll have seen these flowers before. These have the petals that fold backwards and they look really quite effective just with 3 or 4 petals on there. So we'll put a different colour petal in there. There we go. Some of them have bigger petals than others, so I'll have a really big one there. So this is a sunshine yellow, I think. I will give you the list as I said, so I'll work out which petal shards these were, but it really doesn't matter. You know, you can choose which ones you want. Actually, this might be the yellow. So there's a whole mixture because I know when they come out in our garden we get a whole mixture of colour choices with them. Okay, so I'm going to use some smaller bits there for this one in the background, but he's got quite a few petals, so let's put these in there. There we go. I'll just move this over slightly because he's in the wrong place there. I think I'll do 3 is good, so we'll do 3 on there. And we're going to need some beads as well, so I'll go and grab my bead box, and every good glass studio should be with a bead box. So bear with me, caller, I'll be right back. Right, so I've got my bead box. How exciting. So many gorgeous colours in here. So I tend to every now and again stick the kiln on, just make a whole load of beads. It's a full fuse of little sort of 1 centimetre squares, and obviously they go round, well not obviously, but they do go round, and they tend to shrink themselves up. So we've got 2 bits of this. The top tray is all transparent and the bottom tray is all opaque. So I think I want some transparent beads, so let's pop this back on here and have a root through. The rudbeckias I think will look great with a green centre, so I'm going to choose there's all sorts of greens in here, but I'm going to go with this sort of fern green look, or maybe slightly different for that one. Have a little root through, fine, not too big, because these are not they're not big flowers, flower centres, but their petals are big, so just you need one of those on there. That one's got a slightly smaller one, and maybe that one's got a bigger one. There we go. That's it. So that's all I needed. So those are my rudbeckias done. I'm going to finish the thing off now. So I'm just going to pop this away over here. I have spilt it before now, it's not recommended. Lovely, so I think we need to finish that off with some murrine. So I have a whole smorgasbord of murrine over here, and we are probably going to go with blue and yellow so that we can tie the colours together. So I have a lovely sunshine daisy, or a black-eyed Susie daisy. I think we'll go with black-eyed Susie, that's nice. And a periwinkle. So this is great fun, pulling this, because you spend hours making all sorts of different colour combinations. So this particular one that we're going to use here is periwinkle blue. So we obviously used periwinkle blue glass in it. I don't know if you can see that. That comes out absolutely gorgeous little flowers. So I'm going to pop some of these on this side. There's different sizes because we just pull varying widths of cane. And there's also flowers from all parts of the pull, so we get different patterns as we start pulling this stuff, which is great. So I'm going to pop these on here, and what I'm trying to do here is tie these two colours together, and we'll use the yellow murrine on the other side and then blend through just to pull the colours together. And it's quite cute. This would make a nice Mother's Day gift, actually. There we go. I think we've probably got enough there. Let's have a few more going across here. You can get lost when you're doing this. Oh, it's a nice big one there, look. So you don't want too many over this side. But I will put one more and then we're done. So that's my periwinkle. Pop those away, otherwise I'll be looking for them next time I need them. So that's, put that over there for a second. And then this one, this is Black-Eyed Susie. We did have black stamens in the middle, but it depends again where you are in the pull. So these are quite cute. But the blue and the yellow works really well together. So this colour scheme really is a complementary colour scheme where you've got the opposite colours, and that always works really well. In fact, it's probably going to be a split complementary colour scheme. And what that means is rather than two opposite colours, I've taken two pairs of opposite colours. So we've got the blue and yellow as the opposites here, which looks cool. And then I'm going to just add a little bit of red Frit to maybe look like, because remember we've got some little red bits in these delphiniums, so it'll pick that up, but it'll also really make the green zing. Okay, I think that's enough. Let's pop that away. I want to just, this is looking a bit raggedy on this edge, so I just want to add a bit more shadow into the bottom. This is the finishing touch now. So this is Light Aventurine Green, but it's medium Frit. And it's kind of tie the two, just scoop this bit up. I'm going to tie these two bits together. There we go. Because it's dark, it's going to give you that sort of shadows in the bottom. It's a bit like the last thing you do as an artist on a painting is you punch up the contrast between the shadows and the highlights, and that's the equivalent of what we're doing here. So you can see it's really sort of made this look less disjointed, because at the moment we had floating flower heads. Now what we've got with this, there we go, it's grounded now, so it actually looks like it's belonging. Perhaps a little bit of spring green just to add some texture to the grass. There we go. So it looks as though we've got the grass closest to us has got a bit more texture in it. That's that. I just scoop this last bit of green up, pop that on there. And the very last thing is, I mentioned about confetti again. This is cranberry pink confetti, and all I've done is popped a little bit in there and crushed it up. I use this is a really old cutter that came with a microwave kiln. I don't use it for cutting glass, but the end of it's perfect for crushing this up with. So let's just, oh look at that. As soon as you add red where you've got green, because it's the opposite, really makes it ping. So that now looks like we've got a cottage garden. And a tiny bit of red opal. So the cranberry is transparent, and I'm just gonna put the tiniest from a height. Looks like we've got something out of focus in the background, which is perhaps maybe it's poppies, I don't know, but I'm happy with that. Job done. So we like that a lot. And we're going to tack fuse that now. So that's going into the kiln to cook for 12 hours, and the tack fuse schedule obviously for COE 90, so that's coming up so that you can have a look and follow that schedule if you want to. Don't forget to adjust for your kiln as well. This is just a general idea, but it works for us. It works on all the things that we do. So that's it. That's my cottage garden with delphiniums, rudbeckias and some murrine flowers. So I hope you enjoyed that bit. So back in 12 hours and you can see what it looks like when it's been tack fused. See you in 12 hours. Our cub fuser here has been running for 12 hours, so it's been doing a tack programme, and it's at 16 degrees, so just below normal room temperature. So let's open it. Woohoo! Cool. Okay, so I'm happy with this, and it's a little bit of kiln shelf dust on the back of there, so I'll give it a wipe over with some vinegar and water. Very happy with how that's come out. I don't need to cold work this because there's no little spikes on there or anything. Quite happy with the way that's come out. So we're ready to go for a slump now. Slump programme has finished. And we're back at room temperature, so I'm going to open the kiln. Exciting, see what we've got. Woohoo! Ooh, so I'm happy with the way that's slumped, so let's have a little closer look at this, see what we've got. Take that off the mould without trying to disturb the boron nitride. There we go. That looks really nice. As you can see, got a nice curve on that. Stands up nicely as well at the moment, so that looks good. So I'm just going to clean this with a little bit of vinegar and water mix, and we're good to go. We'll take a photo and show you what it looks like. So that's our little project finished. Hope you liked it, hope it was useful, and let us know if you'd like us to make videos on other subjects. Don't forget to comment on it, don't forget to like our video and even share it if you can. That will be absolutely great. Subscribe to the channel as well because it all helps us. So hopefully see you next time on FiredGlass. Bye.